Hello, hello, my friends. It is Hondo, and welcome back to the Knights of the Nerd Republic. You know what to do, and stay profitable.
The Nerd Academy podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
Hello there, and welcome back to Knights of the Nerd Republic, the show where your favorite nerds talk all things about the galaxy far, far away. I am your host, Jarod the Dark Jedi Bachman Stubbs. I just realized my name tags aren't on. There we go. We have a wild week in Star Wars news that has taken place. Kathleen Kennedy has stepped down. Galaxy's Edge is beginning to change. Maul Shadow Lord, we have our first teaser and a release schedule for us. So we're going to be talking all about that this week on the show. But I am not alone. I am, of course, joined by the lore keeper himself, the Italian stallion, the one-eyed knight, the diehard Philly fan, Conor Chiquiti.
What's up, guys? Yeah, no, it's wild to think that something that we've all kind of expected the last couple of years is finally going to happen.
Yeah.
And it just feels, it hasn't set in yet for me, I think.
I said, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
But Kennedy stepping down has been like the Schrodinger's Hollywood executive, because there's been so much like, will it happen, won't it happen, malarkey. And there's a lot to talk about, some frustrating conversations, some that are very interesting, but we'll get into all that. But we are not alone. We are also joined by the one and only Kentucky one himself, Bill Sheehy.
Hello, friends. I know I want to say this.
And EP on Truth in the Barrel as well.
Thank you for plugging that real quick. I was going to wait for the end, but that's perfect. We can do it at the top and at the bottom.
Right.
Happy to be here. Guys, I've been listening to a lot of Chicago recently, and I just want you to know, you bring meaning to my life. You're the inspiration. I just want you to know that. Happy to be back.
Remind me when I start posting the episode tomorrow. Be sure to remind me to use that in the Instagram.
You are the inspiration. Yes, you are. Dude, I realized that it has been like over a year since I've talked anything Star Wars. Like, I've been on, but like we've done like Marvel. We did Fantastic Four and Superman, I know Superman's not Marvel. Yeah, whatever. But yeah, I'm ready to talk Star Wars. It's been a minute.
We did Hunt for Ben Solo. That's
I wasn't on that one, was I?
Yeah, you were.
Was I?
Yeah.
Okay, well then I just lied. Can we edit that out or keep it?
No,
keep it in. Keep it. Okay,
no
we'll keep
more
it in.
Truth in the barrel.
No, there's no truth in this barrel. That's right. Yeah, no. I've been stuck in the barrel, man. I haven't come out. I'm sorry.
But yeah, no, like I said, lots and lots to talk about. And of course, check out the show that Bill produces, Truth in the Barrel. Please do all the plugs for that real quick.
Yeah, guys, you can follow us at Truth in the Barrel. Hold on. We'll edit this, but hold on. Let me make sure I know what the socials are real quick. You can follow us on Instagram at Truth in the Barrel Podcast. That's where we do a lot of our posting. We've been doing we got a lot of big guests recently. Really, really happy with where we're at right now. We do Unfiltered every Thursday, which are just kind of news of the week with Amy McGrath. She's running for Senate right now. She's really well known here in Kentucky. Really great show. I'm really, really happy to be a part of it. And it's just my day-to-day is making sure that the show is the best that it can be. So if you don't mind, follow us on Instagram, our YouTube, Truth in the Barrel Podcast. Go everywhere. Like, comment, subscribe. Smash that like button. Do whatever you got to do. But like it's as I said to one of my friends here in Kentucky, you don't have to vote for it, but if you can please just listen to the podcast, that would be helpful. Thank you so much.
Listen, here's what I'm going to say on that topic. It's been a great show so far. I'm very excited for you, excited for the show, excited for the run. I do have beef.
Oh God, what? Oh, I already know. Well, Mr. Gray Jedi, what could you possibly have beef
Listen,
with?
man. Listen, I know I'm not running for Senate or anything, but like I'm also your podcast boss.
I now hold
I'm
on,
also
hold
like
on,
I'm
hold on.
also
Whoa
your
there.
boss. Like not as much your boss as as
You could
hopefully
have.
future Senator McGrath is, but come on, man, damn.
It's here's the thing. What I
Here's
loved
my
about
take on
that. Here's my take on that. What I loved about that was that it was like I came up with like the people that like rounded up the comments and everything. So there was no way that she would have caught it. That was just me being me and
Yeah.
like putting that into it. Just like, what can I do for my friends that like is funny to them, but like so under the radar that nobody else would get it? And I found it. So I apologize and keep asking questions. And the next time you do it, I promise that that won't happen again.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Mhm.
But if your dear friend on a podcast with a public figure calls you by a name you hate that has been used to troll you precipitously, or vociferously, I should say, need to drown your sorrows, go ahead and get some Sunday's Bloody Mary. You guys know the drill. Sunday's Bloody Mary has the most badass Bloody Mary accoutrement in the galaxy with their 3-time award-winning spicy mix as well as their mild and traditional mixes if the spice isn't for you. This former bartender trusts only one Bloody Mary mix, and that is Sundays, the only mix better than a from scratch Bloody. If you want to shake up your Bloody Mary game for the rest of your life, use the code TEENAP at checkout and use the link in the description down below to help out your favorite nerds while you do it. Other quick note of housekeeping. The kind of loud frustration that happened with it, I will not be talking about anymore. But our MCU rewatch show, The Road to Doomsday, is going strong. We have scheduled right now, at time of record, the upcoming episode will be Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Mm-hmm.
We have recorded and scheduled up to Avengers: Infinity War. And if you would like exclusive access to our audio commentary series, as well as early access to all of these upcoming episodes of Road to Doomsday, including all of the other future ones as well, Taylor and I are going to be recording a good bit over the next couple weeks here before she gets back to work. So $5 tier on our Patreon, like I said, exclusive access to the audio commentaries and early access to the show as well. $10 patrons obviously get that, as well as shout outs at the end of every episode, but I'm talking about it, so thank you, Paco and Ray Clausen. You guys get 2 today. But we have one doozy to talk about. Our main story this evening, or this morning for all of you at home. Kathleen Kennedy has officially stepped down as Lucasfilm president and has named Dave Filoni and Lynwyn Brennen as her successors. Before we jump into this really interesting Dateline article, let me pull up
Dateline?
Deadline.
I'm like, wait a minute.
Kathleen, I want you to have why don't you take a seat?
Like, did Fred Marshall
Why don't you
divorce
take
her
a seat?
while this was also happening? Like, damn.
No. I misspoke. That was my
Like,
bad.
she stepped down.
Kathleen
and-
Kennedy with Chris Hansen? What?
Oh, that's just no. This is why we're never gonna get invited to shit. Damn.
Conor started it. I'm sorry. That's Conor's
You're right.
fault, not
Why
me.
did it start it? But to read from the StarWars.com article real quick, Lucasfilm and the Walt Disney Studios announce leadership transition. Lucasfilm announced today that after 14 years of leading the studio, President Kathleen Kennedy is stepping down from her role. Kennedy will return to full-time producing, including the studio's upcoming feature films, The Mandalorian and Grogu, and Star Wars Starfighter. Dave Filoni, who closely worked with creator George Lucas to build the Lucasfilm animation department on Star Wars The Clone Wars and help launch Star Wars live-action series alongside Jon Favreau on Mandalorian, will take on creative leadership as the company as president and chief creative officer, and Lynwyn Brennen will serve as co-president. For a little bit of background on Lynwyn Brennen, she has been with the company since 1999. She joined working with ILM, eventually became the president of ILM, and has been the general manager of Lucasfilm for some time. So it's really nice that, just saying this up top now, we have a creative and we have a business person, which I think speaks volumes of Kennedy's resume, that it takes both a creative and a business person to fill that void. And I like that it's kind of like a left hand and a right hand that are equally capable, but in different capacities. But to continue from the StarWars.com article, my love for storytelling was shaped by the films of Kathleen Kennedy and George Lucas. I never dreamed I would be privileged to learn the craft of filmmaking from both of them, said Filoni. From Rey to Grogu, Kathy has overseen the greatest expansion in Star Wars storytelling on screen that we have ever seen. I am incredibly grateful to Kathy, George, Bob Iger, and Alan Bergman for their trust and the opportunity to lead Lucasfilm in the new role, doing a job I truly love. May the Force be with you. And then we have, quote, Lucasfilm has played such a meaningful part in my life, said Lynwyn Brennen. It's a community of inspiring storytellers of the rebel spirit like no other, and I am honored to join Dave in leading us forward. I have been so fortunate to learn from George Lucas, Kathy Kennedy, and Alan Bergman, and have unwavering faith in Dave's creative vision for the next chapter in the storied studio's legacy. The rest of this is kind of background stuff that we already know, but a couple quotes. When we acquired Lucasfilm more than a decade ago, we knew we were bringing into the Disney family not only one of the most beloved and enduring storytelling universes ever created, but also a team of extraordinary talent led by a visionary filmmaker, someone who had been handpicked by George Lucas himself, no less, Bob Iger said. So, lots of flowers for Kathleen Kennedy. So before we jump into the deadline exit interview stuff, that does have a couple things that are a little sour, or at least leave a sour taste in my mouth. Conor, I'll throw to you first. How are you feeling? You said this feels kind of surreal. It doesn't feel like it's real quite yet. How are you feeling? How are you feeling?
Pretty much like that. Like I heard when I saw the news about that she was going to retire, like not retire, but like step down. Yeah, again, just realistically, just surreal, because this was something that I think all of us here at the Nerd Academy knew was going to happen at some point, but we just didn't know when. Well, we knew for a fact she wasn't going to get fired, despite what the internet might tell you over the last 8 years or so,
Right.
8-9 years or so. But yeah, just really just surreal, because it's like, yeah, I don't really have anything else other than that.
Alrighty.
It's wild.
Bill, how are you feeling? Like we've kind of had a week to process, like Conor said, this has been news that has been coming. Late last year, there was that Puck exclusive talking about, this is happening. I believe it named Carrie Beck, not Lynwyn Brennen, as the co-president. So I'm not going to pretend to know the inside baseball there as whether or not a decision was made and the mind was changed, or if it was bad info. But we've had an inkling that something was coming. And Kathleen Kennedy said in I believe it was Hollywood Reporter interview, where she basically was like, yeah, at some point soon I will be stepping down, but I'm not done in the film industry. Bill, what are you thinking? How are you feeling?
Here's what I'll say. And get ready to do the, far right like YouTube. Listen up, liberals. Here's what I'm thinking. Kathleen Kennedy is the greatest president that Lucasfilm has ever had. I mean, when you look at the amount of Star Wars stuff that we got, when we look at the varied change in genres, the different genres that we got, the creators that came aboard, the stories that we got, whether it's books, TV, movies, and that's going to continue on. She was handpicked by George Lucas. We definitely have criticisms. I always have criticisms of leaders, of all that. But just looking at what she's done, it's kind of like, I'm not going to say it's better than Lucas, but it is in terms of producing
in scope,
just
bigger than anything George did. It's bigger
absolutely. Than anything George did. And when the prequels ended in 2005, I was like, well, we're not going to get anything else ever again. And then we got all this that I could never have imagined. And it's just, she is has been such an impressive producer. Once again, there are things that will criticize, but she has been the best president in terms of just creating new stories that company has ever had. And it's bittersweet because like at the same time, like I think I kind of compare it to the Kentucky job. I'm obviously from Kentucky, big Kentucky basketball fan. It's about a 10-year job where you have like there are the high highs that John Calipari had in his first 5-6 years, where we were going to the Final Four every year. We won the championship. We did all that. That's the sequel trilogy when it was coming out. The Force Awakens up till The Last Jedi, and then Mandalorian. There's that. But then you have a 2020 season, a COVID year, where there's some Book of Boba Fett, and then there's like other stuff. So like it's a 10-year job, and like at the same time, like you want new blood in there, and like
right.
It's frustrating to me because like I think Kathleen had an impossible job to begin with. The first 5 years were great, and then all the director stuff came into it. There are definitely things to criticize, but once again, I think she's the best president that Lucasfilm has ever had, and it's bittersweet to see her go.
No, I agree 100%. And like, I'm so glad you made the Calipari allusion, because I've been thinking about this since it happened. Because to make another sports comparison, surreal that it's coming from me. The same week we got the news of Kathleen Kennedy stepping down, we got the news of Mike Tomlin stepping down as Steelers head coach. And as somebody who is like grown up in the Pittsburgh area, who has always been surrounded by people who like they bleed black and gold, in that it was to kind of set the table for people who don't know. Since 1969, the Pittsburgh Steelers have had 3 head coaches.
Nice.
But like there have been 3. There are teams that have in a calendar year had 3 head coaches.
Mm-hmm.
The Steelers have had 3 for like over 50 years. Right? And I thought it was so fascinating that for years now, because the Steelers, again, for a little bit of table setting, have never had a losing season under Mike Tomlin and have made it to the playoffs, I believe, almost every single year. However, in 9 years' time, the Steelers have not won a single playoff game. They are good enough to get there, not good enough to win. Mm-hmm. Not so bad they don't make it, not so bad they have a losing season, but not good enough to get the job done either. And after years and years and years of fire Tomlin, we need something new. Get new to the page 1 rewrite of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Cries for that for years. After a particularly embarrassing defeat to the Houston Texans, the next day the news came out that Tomlin was stepping away. And he was contracted to coach for another year. And now this legacy of 2 Super Bowl appearances, Super Bowl, nothing but winning seasons, lots of playoff entries, no wins, but lots of playoff entries in the 9 years. We're left with kind of this legacy of Mike Tomlin, a very verboten, strong, funny leader, feeling like he walked away with his tail between his legs. After years of outcry for something to change. And when and knowing that he had 1 year left, there's a part of me that wishes that like Tomlin was giving that one last year. Because I feel like, and maybe this is me, maybe I watch too many movies, but I feel like something as storied as his tenure as the Steelers head coach deserved some amount of fanfare.
I agree.
That it shouldn't go out like go out like a fart in the wind, and kind of have this like pall of like shame and regret and like, oh well, we kept losing. That there should have been a year to go. This is Coach Mike's last year. Let's make it count and celebrate him. And instead, like everything after that announcement feels like a post-mortem.
It's funny because like I think there's a lot of similarities between Steelers fans, Kentucky fans, and Star Wars fans.
100%. And that's
it's fanatical. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't need to make sense.
There's
but
so much inside baseball that makes us
Uh-huh.
all sound out of our minds when we try to talk about it.
I remember when I went to that Kentucky Oakland game, the NCAA tournament up in Pittsburgh, and we were listening to KSR, and like I think you kind of got into like a little sneak peek into how like we like navigate, because it was like this sombering, like we gotta let him go. It's gotta do like
I even said, I'm like, oh, this sounds like the way everybody talks about Tomlin after they lose a game, let alone a playoff game.
Exactly.
So the week begins with Mike Tomlin is gone. And again, it's sombering. It feels so anticlimactic. And so much of that had to do with the fact that even though Mike Tomlin said it was his decision, and I'm not doubting that necessarily, but it just felt so... It felt so much like he was chased out of the city.
Yeah.
And then a couple days later, a story that feels almost identical takes place, except for we did have that agency.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like Kathleen Kennedy called her shot. You know, she kind of soft launched, I'm not going to be here much longer, and got to leave, and people got to give her flowers. And it's not on the heels of a crushing defeat. You know, Kathleen Kennedy gets to go out on a high note.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I didn't even cut you off,
No,
but
go ahead,
she gets to go on a high note of Andor is a smash hit. It's nominated for all these awards. We got movies are coming back in the next 2 years. You know, like there's all of these projects, all of this fanfare going on, and like. I think this says so much about her that like she's choosing to leave before the fanfare could get to its biggest with the Lucasfilm or with the Star Wars 50th
in
a couple years next year.
What?
And I just look at these two stories of somebody hanging up their spurs. I mean, again, Kennedy is not retiring. She's a Lucasfilm. She's going to still be a producer, but I just look at these two stories and I see so many similarities, but that core difference is it feels like Kathleen Kennedy got to leave on her own terms. And I think that means so much and is what sets them apart and why one feels so much less triumphant than the other.
Well, and I also think like Mandalorian Grogu is going to be a hit. I don't know how much it's going to make, because like now with the changing dynamics of theaters and like what even is a hit anymore, like it's going to be different than what a hit was 5-10 years ago. But like, or even when I guess 10 years ago is when The Force Awakens came out. Jesus Christ. But like,
God damn, I don't like that.
I don't either. I realize that all the time, and I'm like, shit, that was 10 years ago.
God damn, I could still see out of two eyes back then.
I know, that's right.
That's wild.
But like, she could like. She's attached to that. So like, I think that movie is going to be really, really big. And I think that like going off what you were saying, Jarod, there's something to it where it's in a better spot. Star Wars and Lucasfilm are in a better spot now than they were 10 years ago when in 2012 when she took over. So like she's done exactly what you'd want as a president. I know whatever, Alex Jones, Geeks and Gamers, whatever those fuckheads think, whatever, you know, they're just trying to get fucking clicks, whatever. Oh yeah, we can't do it. Anyway,
money.
I just want to call attention to the irrevocable damage I've done to my friends that before any other actual Fandom Menace YouTuber, Bill said Alex Jones.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're the same. They are the same.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. It was just funny.
The corporate needs you to find the difference.
It's the same picture. It's the same picture, Conor. But
I've said it before. I can map all of the prominent like political right-wing personalities to all the nerd space right-wing personalities and their like corollary.
Mm-hmm.
Like Star Wars Theory is like a fucked up hybrid of Tim Pool and Joe Rogan if you made them just talk about Star Wars. You know, like it's you can do that all day. But no, you're right. And you know, the Bombad Boys were talking about this last night because they kind of did a very silly special broadcast which devolved into them taking pot shots at chuds who were coming into the chat.
Mhm.
You
I
know,
gotta rewatch that.
it was very funny. But say what you will about the 10 years, say what you will about, projects getting announced and nothing ever coming of them, and how and why that happened, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The many reasons why the entertainment industry is different, down to we know more than we were ever supposed to. We know way too much about how let me rephrase that. We are told too much about how the sausage gets made, and now we all think we know more about the process than we actually do. As consumers, as fans, as whatever, as people who keep up with the news, you look at Star Wars in 2012. Yes, there's the Clone Wars, and we love the Clone Wars, and the Clone Wars is great. But we had a partnership with Brisk to make a Fruit Ninja clone, and Star Wars Detours, and Star Wars Underworld died a slow and painful death of never getting made, and Star Wars 1313 is on the cusp of being canceled.
Connect Star Wars.
What?
Connect Star Wars.
Connect Star Wars. Which
I'm Han Solo. I'm Han Solo. I'm Han Solo. I'm Han Solo.
Again, like something like Connect Star Wars, which is not remembered for being an interactive game where you can have a lightsaber duel with Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you make such a great point. I know you're making, like, it's such a funny joke, but that's such a great point. When we think of Connect Star Wars, we don't think about the Rancor game mode. We don't think about the story mode where you're flying speeders and getting in the lightsaber duels, doing all this stuff, or the duel mode, or anything else. All we think about is the shitty Jason Derulo parody.
Mm-hmm. And that's so funny.
What Star Wars was.
It's so funny that the criticism now is that it's become so like by the paint by the numbers consumerism, like, oh, Disney Star Wars, it's all that, and then like exactly what it was 14 years ago before she took over is like their criticism now. So
yeah, and again, it blows past the point that so much of those criticisms, valid as some of them may be, are just problems with the film industry at large.
Mm-hmm.
That is special and unique as Star Wars is as a fandom, as a franchise, whatever. It is not inculcated from those issues either. And again, things like Connects, like Star Wars: The Clone Wars truly is like the last remaining thing of the George era that wasn't like weirdly a ghost of itself.
It's true.
Again, like Connect Star Wars, it's such an amazing linchpin, or such as really like embodiment of this issue. Is that Star Wars was largely irrelevant. There was a show on Cartoon Network that was fucking it.
Yep.
George is bandying about ideas of a sequel trilogy, but by then he had no interest in doing it. Look at George's ideas for the prequel or for his sequel trilogy. They run into almost every single issue that the ones we got ran into.
Mm-hmm.
There's this weird mix of not knowing how much or how little to utilize legacy characters. There's the quote unquote disrespect to the lore. You have Luke exiling himself. We have villains coming back from the dead and Darth Maul being the main villain. More on him later. But like, we have all of these issues, all of these things that keep coming up. Again, back to the disrespect of the lore. Kathleen Kennedy hates George Lucas. Kathleen Kennedy hates Star Wars lore. George Lucas said, I want Darth Talon to be in these movies. Somebody probably said, hey, George, these movies take place 30 years after the OT. You do know Darth Talon won't exist for another 500 years, right? And then George Lucas said, I want Darth Talon to be in the movie, but she doesn't exist for another 500 years. Go fuck yourself. Every single criticism would have been levied at this trilogy too.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes beyond shit that Kathleen Kennedy, I'm sure, again, like she's the president of Lucasfilm. Of course shit had to go across her desk. But like she's also not the filmmaker at this point. She is the executive of the company. She's signing checks, she's greenlighting things. And I don't pretend to understand the full process or understand her full involvement. Mm-hmm. But every time Lucasfilm fumbled, anytime Lucasfilm stumbled, it was placed at her feet, in a very weird, unfair way.
Did they do that to George? I mean,
of course they did. I mean, pardon the language, pardon the parlance, but like we have shit like George Lucas raped my childhood.
Yeah, that's true.
Like again, like George Lucas was persona non grata people wanted to crucify him, and then he sold the company, and now we look back with rose-tinted glasses. And I'm sure that like Dave and Lynwyn Brennen are gonna become like the whipping bitches of Lucasfilm now.
They're already like, you're already kind of seeing that. Like, people have been criticizing Filoni for like Ahsoka and like, oh, Star Wars is just like Clone Wars and like Ahsoka and like it's all those legacy characters that he did. I'm like, I mean, yeah, it was that.
You mean the legacy characters who were super popular? The legacy characters you said you wanted to see more of, and now you're getting it. Now you're still fucking angry.
Okay, if you're gonna talk about like, oh, we didn't get the legacy characters in the sequel trilogy we wanted, you're getting the legacy characters that were in Clone Wars, that were in Rebels. You're getting all those now. They're just in live action. Like, first of all, Ahsoka hoodie.
Nice.
So
yeah, that's my biggest
I say
issue.
that. Yeah, we're getting those legacy characters that I am currently wearing. So yeah, it's all ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like everything bad about Star Wars, you blame Kennedy. Everything good, you give credit to everyone but Kennedy. Much like how a certain city with their sports media, hint, hint, talks about its quarterback who won the Super Bowl last year.
That really hurts.
Just saying.
That hurts, Connor. That really hurts.
I'm just saying, Bill, it's the same thing. Oh, everything good about the Eagles offense, not Jalen Hurts. Everything bad about it, blame Jalen. But also it is probably part of it is probably racism.
A little bit.
So, I will say,
Let's be honest.
and I'm going to be honest, I missed part of that conversation, but you're probably right. I
was just talking about the Eagles.
We were blaming Kathleen Kennedy for racism, but keep going.
Of course. But before we get into the deadline article, again, I just want to say one of the things I think is so hilarious, and there are people I am friends with who, and I've taken this up with them on air, that like this news breaks and it's just Kathleen Kennedy replaced with Dave Filoni. And we're completely bypassing the Lynwyn Brennen of it all. Yep. Because her name doesn't get clicks. Because nobody knows who the fuck this person is. And it's just so nakedly that I find hilarious. That's just how this works anymore. It's the lowest common denominator, clickbait, whatever. Again, like, I would not be surprised if we start masquerading this new era as a new renaissance simply because Dave Filoni is in the creative seat and pretending that Lynwyn Brennen doesn't exist. But basically, to touch base with the deadline article before we move on is, Kathleen Kennedy talks a lot about people that she wanted to try to get to Star Wars. Conversations were had with Vince Gilligan of Breaking Bad fame. Ryan Coogler was spoken with, which I think is hilarious. It's so funny because I didn't read the full deadline article until last night earlier today. And I was laughing so much at the Ryan Coogler of it all, because if you listen to the Black Panther audio commentary, $5 tier, I don't shut up the whole time about how much I would kill somebody to get a Ryan Coogler Star Wars movie. Even so much as how that scene whenever T'Challa is with the Jabari before they go out to the big battle, how he's wearing like a brown shawl with a hood on it. And I was like, oh man, just look at Chadwick Boseman looking like a Jedi and tell me this isn't perfect on its face already. Rest in peace to the GOAT Chadwick Boseman as well. But, they're talking about Ryan Coogler, talking about Vince Gilligan. We also know, I'm trying to get to the part. So in the interview, let's get to what the fans are eager to know. The progress on films and series by filmmakers who have committed to putting in that 3 to 5 years. Ryan Johnson, James Mangold, Simon Kinberg, Taika Waititi, where all their projects at. To which Kennedy replies, I've got to tread a bit carefully here. Jim Mangold and Beau Willimon wrote an incredible script, but it is definitely breaking the mold, and it's on hold. Taika has turned in a script that I think is hilarious and great. It's just not my decision, especially when I have a foot out of the door. Also, this interview was conducted at the Star Wars Starfighter wrap party. That's another thing, Star Wars Starfighter wrap.
Interesting. Okay.
Also, Tom Cruise in a lightsaber duel. Cool. Donald Glover has turned in a script, and as you've read, Steven Soderbergh and Adam Driver turned in a script written by Scott Burns. It was great. Anything's a possibility if somebody's willing to take a risk. I remember I remember when I got the job, the first thing Bob Iger said to me was, "Be bold." I've always liked that because I think you
Sure
have
about
to
that,
be bold.
Bob?
Bob, hey
You have
Bob.
to-
Hey Bob. Listen, Bob. Be bold, Bob.
Bob, there's a thing
Can
called
we put that
practice
on a
where you
t-shirt,
pre.
Bob? Be bold,
Yeah.
Bob. Be bold.
Yeah.
Even though you're out the door too. Be bold. Be bold,
Yeah.
Bob.
Like there's this little anecdote, this thing called practice what you preach, Bob. So
Bob,
just putting
Bob.
it out there.
Listen, Bob. Okay, sorry. I'm done. I'm sorry.
What are we doing, Bob?
Bob.
Bob.
Be bold, Bob.
Be bald.
Sensational. I've always liked that because I think you have to be bold and you have to be willing to take risks with people and with ideas. Otherwise, you're just doing the same thing. Right now, we're in an era where companies are so risk averse, and I get it. I've heard all the conversations. They've got a Wall Street to please, and I get it, but I also believe that's what contributes to things disappearing ultimately. I just think you have to take those chances. Everything I've reeled off to you is taking a bit of a chance because none of those filmmakers are walking in trying to do same old, same old. I'm excited by that, but studios are nervous about that, and that's where I think it kind of lies at the moment. Then Deadline asks, what about Rian Johnson returning after Episode 8, The Last Jedi, grossed $1.3 billion globally? Say that again, $1.3 billion. Call it a flop. I'll punch you in the throat. We expected him to return. Kennedy replies, once he made the Netflix deal and went off doing the Knives Out films, that kind of occupied a huge amount of his time. That's the other thing that happens here. After Sean and I started talking about Star Wars, Stranger Things kicks in, and he was completely consumed by that for a while. That's what happened with Ryan. And then I do believe he got spooked by the online negativity. Quick note, Rian Johnson then said, not spooked at all. Was not spooked. Lol. It was his exact response. I just saw your fucking text. Sorry, I lost my place. And then I think Ryan made one of the best Star Wars movies. He's a brilliant filmmaker, and he got spooked. No spooked, lol. This is the rough part. When people come into this space, I need every filmmaker and actor to say to me, what's going to happen? They're a little scared. The Deadline replies, you've developed a thicker skin, no doubt. You can't have been used to all the criticisms when you were producing movies with Frank Marshall for Steven Spielberg. What do you say to ease the apprehension of these newcomers to Star Wars? Every time you release another movie or series, it's like fire in the hole. Kennedy says, I'm honest, especially with the women that come into this space because they get unfairly targeted. I don't try to sugarcoat it, and I emphasize that it's a very small group of people with loud megaphones. I truly do not believe that the majority of the fans, and I think we're also in this weird world of where bots can affect things. You can develop a tough skin. That is exactly right. That's what you have to do. You can't make it go away. All we can do is put our heads down and do the work and believe that what we're doing the best that we can, telling the best story we can. And if somebody gets really nervous about it and doesn't want to do it, I say, then don't do it because I can't tell you this won't happen. And like I said, we're just kind of going through like kind of the juicy stuff. And then there's a very funny beat here that I love because those of you at home may have noticed what has not come up at all yet. How goes that project Simon Kinberg is writing and producing? Kennedy says, he's working now. He wrote something that we read in August, and it was very good, but not there. We've pretty much upended the story and then spent a great deal of time on the treatment, which he finished literally about 4 weeks ago. It's a very detailed treatment, like 70 pages. And so he is expected to give us something in March. Now, for those of you playing at home, the Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy Rey Skywalker New Jedi Order movie has not been brought up once by name by Kathleen Kennedy.
Also, we loved it, but we changed everything about it.
Yeah, it was like it's not ready yet. I get what she means. It was like, okay, these are good bones. Put meat on the bones.
Yep.
Boil those bones. Like
boil the bones.
Boil
the bones, Bob. Boil the bones.
Boil the bones, Bob.
Be bold, Bob.
Be bold, Bob.
Be bold and boil the bones, Bob. Be bold, too.
Okay, that flew out of me. I need to give context for boil those bones. I have a coworker.
Is his name Bob?
Day job. No, her name is Laura. She's very sweet, and I love her very much. And she's from New York. She doesn't have a super thick New York accent, but you could tell she's from New York when she speaks. And one day at work, everybody is like the day after payday, so like everybody's like door dashing something to eat. Treat yourself at work. And Laura goes, I'm so hungry, but I don't know what I want to eat yet. And she was like, I brought my lunch. And we all went, oh, what'd you bring? And she goes, I'm on a diet. She looks fucking amazing. Like she's like, she's like 63. You couldn't tell. I only know that because she told me, one of those, like, you're on like be on a diet for yourself, do your thing. But like, this is not a, like, somebody would say you need to be on it kind of thing, if that makes sense, without getting into weird, like, beauty standards shit. And we go, what'd you bring? And she goes, oh, I'm on this diet. I brought this bone broth. And we're all like, Laura, all you're going to have for lunch is bone broth? And she kind of takes a beat and starts explaining the process of making bone broth. And she stops. And there's this pregnant pause. And she goes, and they boil those bones. And I've not stopped thinking about that sentence for like 2 months of, they boil those bones. Anyway. Deadline asks, are there any other Star Wars films or spin-offs the fan base will never forgive me for overlooking? The Rey movie has not been brought up once in this interview. The name Charbine Obed Chinoy has never been said once. Kathleen Kennedy replies, we've talked about this new trilogy and then the things you've mentioned. Mangold is really on the back burner, as is Soderbergh's. I think the ones by Taika and Donald are still somewhat alive. It's really going to be up to the new team to figure out. Dave, I know that Dave and Lynwyn are very much on board with what Simon's doing, and that would be a new trilogy. In the timeline of things, that takes you well into 2030 plus. So that's really what's up. Nothing about the Rey movie. Like, I always do this. I forgot. The person conducting the interview was in the byline from Mike Fleming Jr. Not once is the Rey movie brought up by Kennedy. Fleming is clearly teeing her up to acknowledge it. This is what gives me pause. Again, we'll talk about the projects getting backburnered and shit. But like, there's a part of me that wants to go, okay, either the speculation we have brought up countless times that the Rey movie is probably going to get folded into the new trilogy because that's what makes the most sense. Like, again, if Rey would be the main character of the new trilogy, I find it kind of crazy that they would give her her own movie before a trilogy where she is like where she's the OG. You know what I mean?
But here's the difficult part, I think. Because, like, I think that's what we've heard is that this is the Rey movie is the lead up to the new trilogy. If she's in it, like, Star Wars is always going to be for 12-year-olds. Sorry, geeks and gamers, but like, it's going to always be for 12-year-olds. So the heroes are going to be, teenagers, early 20s. So like, that's always going to happen. That's what Star Wars is. That's what it's always going to be. But like, part of me is like, okay, is this new trilogy? Is it episode 10, 11, 12? Or is this just like a Rey trilogy? If it's a Rey trilogy, I'd be totally cool with that. Like, because there's obviously more stories for Rey to tell.
We here want a fucking Rey movie and a trilogy. And a trilogy.
We want a quadrilogy. Yeah. Get us the Rey quadrilogy. We'll do whatever you want to give us. We'll take it.
Four movies of David Davis for Daisy Ridley.
Here's the
Jesus
thing.
Christ.
It's the
4
opposite
movies
of
of
Community.
Daisy Ridley? Peak.
It's the opposite of Community. 4 movies and a season of television. That's what we
Yep.
want.
Yeah. Give me
And
all
much
the
like the
Daisy
Community
Ridley, man.
movie,
Yeah.
much like the Community movie, ain't shit happening.
Thanks, Chevy.
But no, and like, listen, well, we all say there's things to criticize. You know, I think if I may pinpoint a moment that I think the wheels began to fall off and Star Wars and Lucasfilm developed I'm not going to mince words, an embarrassing reputation of here's a project, maybe you'll see it.
Mhm.
Was that 2020 investors call.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Rangers of the New Republic, Rogue Squadron, Star Wars Droids, whatever the fuck that was going to be, Lando,
Forgot about droids.
all got announced. And we know now that that was basically Bob Chapek. I have to stop myself from saying Bob Paycheck because like that was the mean
Bob
spirit of
Paycheck.
nickname.
He's tell me
I call
more.
him Little Bob Paycheck. But people are saying, but you know, it began with Chapek saying, like, I don't care if there's a napkin in the break room at Skywalker Ranch that says TV show about droids? Question mark. R2? Question mark. Announce it.
Mhm.
Are you getting ready to not renew your contract with Gina Carano because she's been saying some wild offsides shit? Announce it. Announce the show that would be starring her character.
You know, she's
You
awfully
know,
quiet when there are literal Nazis around. You
I know.
It's
It's
weird.
Like,
It's
like
weird,
calling
isn't it?
it's like calling vaccine mandates the Gestapo,
Mhm.
but not the Gestapo. The Gestapo
Yeah.
is wild. Anyway,
We should call them the vaccine mandates.
yes.
Here we go, Connor.
Reverse psychology. This
There,
shit.
we're doing it. Amazing.
Oh, I mean, listen. I mean, we're again. The moment we realized that people would go like, "Oh, I hate Obamacare, but I like the Affordable Care
Oh, yeah.
Act," it was like deeply
Absolutely.
unserious people. But like, you know, that is when the bad news started.
Mhm.
You know, and after that, it only gets more muddy and more complicated because we have all of these instances of, you know, we announce a Rey movie, a Dawn of the Jedi movie, Dave Filoni movie where he's going to tie up all the loose strings of Mandoverse shit, all going on at the same time. One of those is actively trying to be memory hold because I think it's going to get folded into the new stuff, hopefully along with the Hunt for Ben Solo. One of which is on the back burner and being described as not alive with the Jim Mangold Dawn of the Jedi movie. And there are reports coming out that the Dave Filoni movie's on the back burner too. So 3 of the movies announced at Celebration London in 2023, gone. You know, that is along with, again, complicated feelings about Star Wars Eclipse. We're not going to get into the discourse about it necessarily right now. Star Wars Eclipse was announced like 8 years ago. It feels like. I mean, it was more recent than that, but like 5-6 years ago, we get Star Wars Eclipse announced. Nothing. Not that long after that, KOTOR remake. Next to nothing.
You know,
Like, and also Fate of the Old Republic is a game that had a cool teaser for it. We know nothing about it. Not much to dig into, but I'm excited for Fate of the Old Republic if
I
it
am
comes out.
too. The weird thing about the KOTOR remake, this I don't know if I've ever discussed this before, but like I had somebody who was pretty high up at LF Games tell me like that this was like they were planning for it to come out like 2 years after 2022. So like this was when I went to Star Wars Celebration in 2022, they were talking in the context of like they were talking about like, oh, when by the time that the KOTOR remake comes out, the Old Republic will have been out for like the MMO will have been out for like 15 years or something like that. So that put it like around 2025. So like they were working on it. Like,
yeah.
so there,
And
I
from
think,
what we understand, it's still being worked on.
yeah,
It's like it switched studios and there was all of these like changing of hands, whatever. It's not to say that KOTOR is dead in the same way that the Jim Mangold stuff isn't necessarily dead, in the same way that Hunt for Ben Solo isn't necessarily dead, but like
they
there
change.
are
Things change. Projects
things change
change
and there's
all the
practically
time.
no signs of life. And again, what the issue is, fans want a slate. Like again, like I love the MCU. I'm doing a whole fucking MCU rewatch right now, but like I hate saying this phrase. God, I'm gonna catch on fire for it. The MCUification of the entertainment industry has done so much damage, and it's not Marvel's fault. It's the
No.
fans.
Yeah.
It's that we expect every convention to have a slideshow with a timeline, with logos and dates and years and graphics and announcements and castmates walking in and walking off and walking in and walking off. There's a pageantry we've come to expect as like nerd fans that like things will be announced, things will happen, they will happen when they're supposed to happen, there will be no hiccups, which again is a fiction. It is a fabrication. While I do the background notes for Road to Doomsday, every time I read such and such was announced on blank date to be released on blank date. Next paragraph down, eventually delayed to blank date. Like there's never been a universe where all of these things happen the exact way that we think they're gonna and the exact way we expect them to. That's never happened, and it's never going to happen. That's fiction. But like we as fans want like a snappy timeline and days and dates, and we know so much. We're told so much. We've seen enough of how the sausage gets made to think we know what's going on. Again, I will not be surprised if Rogue Squadron slowly morphed into Star Wars Starfighter.
It absolutely like that's
No.
you're
100%.
we go from a Rogue Squadron movie to a Starfighter movie, like, and now there's lightsaber, like it's so like what's gonna end up happening with that movie. And first of all, I just want to say you're being so bold, bestie. Thank you so much for being bold. But it's giving slay.
On period.
That what has happened with that movie, there have been it would not surprise me at all if when the credits roll for Starfighter, producer Patty Jenkins, whoever was like
story by Patty
story
Jenkins.
by, like, because they did that with Michael Arndt and they did it with whoever else was licensed or who was paid to write for a treatment for The Force Awakens. So like that's what's gonna happen. It's gonna. It
depends on how much it changes, because that's
right.
where like the weird WGA shit kicks in. But still, and I think you're right.
Or special thanks to Patty Jenkins, whatever.
Yeah, some type of credit or something.
Yeah.
But all of that to say, I don't think it's unfair to be frustrated.
Yeah.
By the amount of things that have been announced that are so exciting, and to have only gotten a fraction of them. And for a lot of those projects, quite frankly, to be negatively affected by the pandemic in some way. You know, Obi-Wan Kenobi was a COVID shoot. I love that show. It's my favorite Star Wars TV show. But, like, you could tell that shit was shot during COVID. You could tell. You could tell. You know, I don't get hung up on it. I'm able my suspension of disbelief, the verisimilitude is not broken for me in such a way that I'm like, oh, this looks like a COVID show. It's bad. You know, because it has those little quirks of that time period. But I think it is valid to go, of the things announced there, of the things announced at Celebration, a handful of them have come to fruition, and an even smaller amount have even shown remote signs of life in 6 years' time.
Once
In
again,
6 years' time, there are barely signs of life at all.
once again, it is going back to the sports analogy. It's the Calipari of it all. From 2009 to 2015, 16, unstoppable. Could not be stopped. Best teams that we've had in my lifetime as a Kentucky fan. From 2015 to 2020, that was Kathleen Kennedy's run. The best Star Wars we've gotten, the most varied books, movies, TV shows, video games, all that. That was her King Calipari era. 2020 to 2025, it's more, yeah, we were getting in the tournament, and yeah, she was making the tournament, but like, we weren't getting very far.
Mike Tomlin hasn't won a playoff game in 9 years,
Yeah.
And again, but
I still love John Calipari. I still love Kathleen Kennedy. I know you still love Mike Tomlin, but like at the same time, like there's frustration
iffy on my
there.
coach.
Iffy, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'm just gonna blame Jalen Hurts. So
please don't.
But all of that said, and Kathleen Kennedy, quite frankly, she fires from the hip a little bit with that. Like, studios need to be bold. At the end of the day, the entertainment industry is shrinking.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, this industry is in crisis. Streaming is at once the solution to every problem and also the cause of every problem. That's to say nothing of the AI of it all. That's to say nothing of diminishing box office returns.
Which hopefully will burst at some point. And I can't wait to see all the egg Disney has on its face for loaning out all of their IP. God, I will be elated the day
But when that happens, there's going to be a bunch of working people who lose their fucking jobs over it. And
Absolutely.
This goes back to, this is not a Lucasfilm problem. This is not a Kathleen Kennedy problem inherently. This isn't Kathleen Kennedy's poor leadership. It's a studio thing. Again, I'm not going to sit here and say with my whole chest that people like Theory, Geeks and Gamers, whatever, are the reason why The Acolyte didn't get renewed. I'm not going to sit here and say it's because of them. You're smoking something that I would love to try out if you think it's not a part of it. That the horrendous press The Acolyte got because fan reactions were so net negative, because you have all of these people who aren't watching the show being told by people who are at best half watching the show that it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
My old job, I worked with a handful of people. There was one guy who was like kind of a dude bro, but not in like an offensive way, but just kind of like, in like the dude bro oeuvre.
Mm-hmm. He did his research, is what you're telling me.
Yes. But like, he was like, hey man, everybody knew me as a Star Wars guy. He was like, hey, he's like, I've been hearing some mixed things on that Acolyte show. Do you think I should watch it? And it's like 3 episodes in. And I'm like, I told him, I said, I think it's really good. I said, it's shaping up to be kind of a meditation on the dark side and how people fall and why people fall and, the failures of the Jedi, whether they're Zenith. I said, so far, I really like it. And he said, well, if you really like it, I'm going to give it a try. And then a month after this exact conversation I have with this gentleman, another guy who used to work for the store and then he came back because he was like done with school or whatever. It doesn't matter. But he's a big nerd and he hears I'm the big Star Wars guy. So literally within minutes of him showing up, I have like 30 minutes left in my shift before I leave. He's coming on to be one of the closers. He goes, hey, I heard you like Star Wars. I said, yes, I do very much. And normally I know that conversation means we're about to have a fucking argument.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, my 3 favorite Star Wars movies are everybody's least favorite from each trilogy. I'm used to it by this point. And he goes, what do you think of The Acolyte? And I said, it's one of my favorite Star Wars shows. I said, it's fighting in that second or third place with Ahsoka, because it's really hard to top Obi-Wan Kenobi for me. And he went, really? I said, yeah. He said, even though it breaks the lore? And I straight up looked at him. I said, explain to me how it breaks the lore real quick. Did you watch it? He said, of course not. And I laughed in his face. I laughed in his face. that may have contributed to why I got fired, because of course I didn't watch it. I went, ha! I like straight to him. And there were a couple of the people in the stock room who were like, oh, cool, Jared's on one now. But, you know, and it was like, oh, it breaks the lore. And I'm like, no. And I'm like explaining to him, I'm like, you didn't even watch the show, dude. Oh, you didn't even watch the show. And he's like, oh, well, this guy on YouTube I watch called Star Wars Theory. I said, yeah, I fucking bet.
That's why.
And I was like,
That's all I need to hear.
Watch it.
Argument over. Like,
but like,
well,
you have to like get negative press, and it had such bad word of mouth for reasons not of its own doing. That show got targeted. Kathleen Kennedy says in this very Deadline interview how much there is a small but loud part of the fan base that just makes Star Wars enjoyment a cesspool. And you have all these studios seeing this weird reaction to anything that isn't beloved immediately, having to balance the way that Hollywood has become so risk averse with wanting everything with needing everything to be an unmitigated smash hit. You know, of course there's stuff that they get gun shy about. I'm sure James Mangold, she says it's mold breaking. I'm sure the Dawn of the Jedi movie was going to introduce some concepts that were going to be a kind of a tough pill to swallow. You know, I'm not surprised. I hate to say it. I am not surprised that they are gun shy about making a movie about the sequel trilogy when so much of the perceived fan response is so profoundly negative. You know, I understand that the studios are gun shy, but Kathleen Kennedy's right. You need to be bold to make decisions. And I think Disney, at the highest level, in that C-suite spot, need to understand Star Wars as a fandom, as a franchise, as a fan base, a very loud and vocal fan base, no matter whatever parts of it. You know, again, people like Bill and Conor and myself and the Bombad Boys and the people of Force Center, we make up a minority of fans who like truly engage with this shit on a really deep level. Even if it's people who don't get it, even if it's people who don't get it on purpose, that's still a level of engagement that is not going to be seen across the diaspora of Star Wars fans. You know, there are going to be people that when the Rogue One trailers came out thought Jyn Erso was Rey and the Death Troopers were Darth Vader, and they're going to go see these movies too. And then there's going to be people like us where I'm sitting here with 5 goddamn Star Wars tattoos. You know, I have this shit completely etched into my body. And our dollars spend the same way.
Yep.
This is an issue of motivation. It is an issue of being gun shy. Again, I am sure there are faults in Kennedy's leadership that have contributed to this. I think so much of that criticism needs to be laid at the likes of Alan Bergman and Bob Iger.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. It's just, she has been bold. Like
yeah,
that's the problem. I think that announcing those shows is kind of bold, even though and they didn't end up happening, but at the same time, they were willing to it got to the point where they were willing to announce it. So that says to me that there was, even early on in the process, they were like, this works. We're going to do this. This is going to make sense. Let's go. We're doing the MCUification of Star Wars. But and then I think the frustration is that then we don't see that because a lot of it is we're going to do this, but how does this connect to this? How does this connect to that? And so it's a problem, but at the same time, you can talk about the bad, which we obviously have, but you can't ignore the good. That's the problem that I think that people have, is that they talk about this shit happens, and Kathleen Kennedy, the Solo reshoots, all this other stuff, and then they don't talk about, The Force Awakens is one of the best movies of all time. It's one of the most profitable movies of all time. They get the Last Jedi is the best Star Wars movie. The Rise of Skywalker, to me, one of the best of Star Wars movies of all time. Then you have Fallen Order. You have all these other. You have Mando and Grogu. You have The Mandalorian. You have Ahsoka. You have Obi-Wan Kenobi. You have all these things because of her, because she was bold enough to do.
Books and comics.
We got to be bold.
Yeah,
gotta be
bold.
All of that to say, even though the most recent years have been frustrating. I think I'm happy that Kathleen Kennedy gets to end things on her own terms and kind of ride off into the sunset, and get back to producing movies on her own, doing her own thing with Frank Marshall. Again, it's frustrating, it's complicated, but at the end of the day, you can't take away Kathleen Kennedy's legacy. And we went from, like I said, a re-release of The Phantom Menace in 3D, The Clone Wars, and a brisk branded fruits in Star Wars Fruit Ninja clone was where we were in 2012. And now we have 5 movies with 2 more on the way in the next 2 years, and hopefully more. So all of that to say, thank you, Kathleen Kennedy. May the force be with you. And I'm glad you got to get out of this shit when you did. A quick little mini story before we jump into Maul Shadow Lord trailer talk.
Taylor.
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 Okay, now I gotta play it. Let's see if I still have it.
Play Taylor. I need to see Taylor.
I'm working on it. Hold on.
Show me Taylor.
All right. Everybody hold your horses. I don't even know if I still have the clip, because I had to clear a bunch of shit out. Okay, here we go.
Trailer.
Anyway,
What a day that was. The 13-hour
Kenobi
Twitter,
Disney Plus Day trailer.
the 13-hour Twitter space, man. I still, to this day, whenever I think about that, I still don't know how I didn't end that at some point. Because, like, it just so happened that I just had nothing going on that day. It was just the absolute perfect amalgamation of everything where I just had nothing going on. So all I could do the entire day was just that. And I'll never forget, I went away to have dinner with my family upstairs. And I was just like, you know what? Let me charge my phone and have the thing still on.
And there was no Taylor. No Taylor that day.
No Taylor.
But there are some change-ups happening at Disneyland. I'm going to read from the StarWars.com article here. Welcome to a new era of Batuu. Disneyland Resorts has announced exciting updates coming to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland. Beginning April 29th, 2026, Black Spire Outpost is expanding its timeline, introducing elements from the events of the original film trilogy. As a result, visitors to Batuu, the planet Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, I'm forgetting how to read, may cross paths with a few familiar faces, from Darth Vader, Imperial stormtroopers, starting through the streets, to Han Solo and Chewbacca reuniting at the Millennium Falcon, all while John Williams' iconic music themes swirled through the air. The original Galaxy's Edge timeline placed Batuu during the era of the Resistance and the First Order, between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. The new timeline will roll back several decades, expanding to span the events of Return of the Jedi and The Mandalorian. Ever since Black Spire Outpost welcomed its first visitors in 2019, the land has been growing and changing, adding new characters, attractions, and special events. This new timeline shift is the next chapter in an ever-expanding story of Batuu. Quote, "We've seen Star Wars Galaxy's Edge as a platform for storytelling, a land that could continue to live and grow and evolve," explains Asa Kalmara, Vice President and Executive for Creative and Interactive Experiences at Walt Disney Imagineering. The new timeline means new characters, Han and Leia, as well as updates to some shops and even the land itself. Here's the breakdown. So, like we said, familiar faces: Vader, Luke, Han, Leia, Imperial stormtroopers, as well. Also, Mandoverse era characters like Din, Ahsoka, Boba Fett, Bo-Katan. All of the sequel trilogy characters will remain at Rise of the Resistance, and they're going to kind of update it to be more reflective of this time period. Bill, how do you feel about this? Because for me, my thing with this is, I think I I've always thought the Galaxy's Edge should like over time just kind of like move between eras.
Yeah.
And because the hard lock into between TLJ and Tross already, like the continuity was broken by the fact that Kylo Ren had a helmet. He was dressed like his Force Awakens counterpart.
You can just do the multiverse of it all, where it's like, oh, you've entered into a different dimension, you've entered into a different time. Like, what I hope this leads to, I'm glad they're doing this, because I think what this can do is, let's say in 10, 15 years, or hell, in like 2 or 3 years, they're like, okay, we've done the OT, let's do the prequels, let's do the Old Republic, let's do, okay, now we're doing this new trilogy, let's show these new characters. So like, I think what this can do, this can up the immersion, because like everybody wants to go be seen with Darth Vader. The parents, or soon to be grandparents, want to be seen with Darth Vader and Luke and Leia, and then the parents want to be with Anakin and Obi-Wan. So like, this is just like, to me, this makes sense. Who cares if it was like, if it was in the timeline, or if it's a canon story? There are ways to get around it. It's the wibbly wobbly timey wimey of it all. Who cares? Just like,
again, even that, like, I understand, like, you have to hard lock the Age of the Resistance part of the park, and I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
To me, I've always thought that like Galaxy's Edge should be like cycling through time periods. Like, and this is just an example, like not a hard line, whatever, but like, okay, like wintertime, it's sequel trilogy, and we get spring into early summer, we're gonna do prequels, and then end of like late summer, end of the year, it's OT, and then we start back over, or maybe we hard lock in one of those in between eras, like Mando specifically.
It's not the same thing, but like Star Tours has been doing that. Like there's Jar Jar has been showing up and stuff, and like they have sequel specific things, they have original trilogy specific things, and they have prequel specific things.
They're updating Millennium Falcon ride to include Mandoverse stuff.
There you go.
Like, and again, Millennium Falcon things can't really do prequel trilogy because it's the Millennium Falcon, so that makes sense. But like,
well, actually, you can do that in episode 3 if you look very, very closely at the Senate building and at about the 27
it's
minute
just
mark.
another YT freighter. God damn it!
No. Actually, I did my research. And then I talked to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And then he told me to eat the cow. I drank the cow milk, and then I watched episode 3, and then I had a fever dream, and then it was there. I was in the Millennium Falcon, and then it was.
And then Robert F. Kennedy said, "Have you ever eaten beef tallow and watched the arc where Yoda becomes a Force ghost?" Anyway, I can't do RFK. I just start sounding like the fucking like Sadukar from Dune.
He's not real.
Dune joke tonight.
Big Dune guy. Big Dune guy.
Yeah.
Everything I hear and hear, every time I hear RFK, I'm like, he's not real. He's just not real.
No.
He's not a real
an
person.
administration full of fucking Muppets, he is the most cartoonish.
Like, they're all Muppets, and not in a good way.
No.
Like, I would entrust.
They
Kermit
operate
the
on like
Frog.
Muppets logic. They operate on Muppets logic and like Looney Tunes logic.
I would trust Kermit the Frog as president of the United States.
Now, Fozzie Bear, he's been asking for Greenland for a while.
Oh, we need Greenland.
I'm sorry.
Fozzie Bear went on stage and said, "You just can't say anything anymore. Waka waka." And then it was like, oh, and then he went
Waka waka, more like woka
Fozzie
woka.
Bear became an part of the alt-right pipeline.
Anyway.
Gonzo's still really liberal coded, but like he got really into NFTs. But anyway, I think this is cool. I also would like a prequel kind of facelift. Again, I think the reason that the prequels are going to be kind of difficult to pull off is because not only is there a Millennium Falcon ride, the Millennium Falcon sits so dead center in this part of the park that like it's hard to square those two things. So I get it. However, I would still love to see castmates walking around in like the Clone War era, like armor for Anakin and Obi-Wan.
I mean, then you could say like, okay, it was the owner of the Millennium Falcon before Lando. Like, Like that's then like it's on.
Yeah. Like there's ways
It's
to
like
do it,
there's-
and you don't have to take it that seriously. Like this could very much just be like a toy box kind of thing.
Right.
I just think like I don't know who is making these final decisions necessarily, but like I think there is such a I think there's a disconnect between we tried to hard lock this in the sequel trilogy, and then Boba Fett and Fennec Shand and Din Djarin and Luke Skywalker started, and Ahsoka Tano started hanging out at the park, but we could get away with it because it's still like so much of the tech in the sequel trilogy is still very original trilogy coded.
Once again,
And-
it's what you were saying earlier. It's the Rogue One. Jen Erso is Rey. Death Troopers are Darth Vader. They don't. The general public is not gonna question it. They're gonna be like, "Oh, I like those guys. Those are cool guys."
Yeah,
Let's go-
like I
let's
said,
go
I
talk
don't.
to them."
There's one of those things where I don't think it needs to be taken this seriously.
Yeah,
but
agreed.
Galaxy's Edge has decided it needs to be taken this seriously, and I respect them for that. I respect them for being like, no, god damn it, this takes place in ABY,
Mhm.
and
My favorite
and now
year.
we're running it back a little bit, the ABY.
My favorite year.
But yeah, it's interesting, and I look forward to maybe go. I mean, this would be going on presumably when Star Wars Celebration is happening. I went to Batu East in 2019 and got to do all the sequel trilogy stuff. I would be very excited to do some original trilogy stuff now too, / Mando era New Republic stuff. You know what I mean. Conor, any thoughts?
Not really. No, I mean it's cool. Everyone, the thing that kills me is everyone's like, "Oh, they're going back to the original trilogy with Batu and everything," and then I read the article and it's like between episode 6 and 7, and I'm like, "Yeah, this ain't it. This ain't it, guys."
No, but because that's the other part
Between
of this.
what?
I'm not saying it again, Bill. Shut up.
Do not
I
vote
deal
for
with
Andy
this-
McGrath. It's
I deal
Bill's
with this
fault.
from my roommate. I
Um,
hate that shit so much. I crashed out to him, and I'm gonna crash out here.
You said
Not-
it, not me.
It's shut up. It's not a joke. There's
Conor!
no joke. There's
Conor!
no format. There's no format. There's no punchline to it. It's terrible. It's so dumb. There's no meme to it. There's no joke. It's so bad.
Can I weigh in on moderate
So-
voice 6'7"?
It's soulless.
Can I weigh in? So
As a ginger, yeah, man, it's my kind of joke.
Yeah.
if I can weigh in as the moderate voice on this meme,
There's nothing about it that's a meme.
while I am not a big fan of the number meme,
Which one?
what I will say,
7 and 9, which is better. There's a story to it.
there's a story to it. What I will say
Tapestry.
is that it is reminiscent of the 2018
Elton
meme
Diaz.
collapse, because it does get into like an absurdist place. Like I can't hate on kids who say 6'7" when I know people. I'm literally waiting for him to stop doing it before I put him back on screen. I'm not adding you back in, Bill, until you stop doing it. I'm not adding you back in until you stop doing it. I will ban you from the studio. Okay. But
I was waiting.
I know you were. I know you were. Son of a bitch. But I like it. It does legitimately remind me of like back in 2018 when like memes collapsed in on themselves, and we ended up with shit like a photo of Mark Zuckerberg with Lord Farquaad's head edited onto it, with Markiplier's face edited onto it, extra deep fried with the letter E.
The deep fried memes.
The deep fried E. Like it's that weird absurdist thing. And Conor, you're right. There is no punchline. There is no joke. It was one of those like vocal stem earworm things that like you heard it and you couldn't stop saying it. Much like the
No,
one that
I
was
could stop
working
saying it
for me.
because I knew it was stupid.
I know, but you need
Conor,
to understand.
Conor.
The reason it's funny is because people like you get
Bill.
so virulently angry about it.
Can I
Yeah,
ask
so
you
it
a
went
question,
from-
Connor? Let me
What's
ask you a
up,
question.
Bill?
Have you
Yeah.
seen, speaking of Zuckerberg, have you seen the smoking these meats video of Zuckerberg Like 6'7" is the smoking these meats. Like it doesn't make any sense. But
Well,
like
my favorite, like my like
the
vocal
meats are
stim
smoking.
meme right now is like
Arby's, we have the meats.
it's like it's the Kevin Gates thing.
Beefing with my chick when I'm in jail.
Precisely. It's that video of Kevin Gates is going, beefing with my chick while I'm in jail. Like, which Kevin Gates is also one of my favorite internet glup shittos. Like, he's a good rapper, but again, this is the same guy who in an interview said that he started a lady's car battery with his bare hands, and then when he got interviewed by DJ Academics about it, who fuck DJ Academics, but Ack was like, "You didn't really start that lady's car battery, did you?" And then Kevin Gates, with more solemnity that I've ever seen in a human being in my life, goes, "If I am lying, I want God to kill my children today. Murder them today."
What the fuck?
It's the funniest thing ever. But the beefing with my chick while I'm in jail is like, that's the number meme for me. So I get it. Part of it,
That's so bizarre.
beefing with my chick while I'm in jail is
God
funny
to
because
do
it's a funny
this.
sentence. But the number meme is funny because A, it doesn't make any sense, and B, it makes people angry, and C, it's just an earworm.
Not really. Anyway, between the fact that they were like, oh yeah, we're going back to the original trilogy with this, and it's between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens, I'm like,
But it's partly
no.
Return of the Jedi. This is the beginning of the weird, it's this, but it's also this, because Darth Vader is there. So it's
Darth Vader is
between Jedi.
He's at Hollywood Studio though. Like,
no, they're moving him. That's the other thing.
Oh,
they're putting Kylo Ren in Hollywood Studios and putting Darth Vader in Galaxy's Edge.
Heard.
So they're switching spots.
Heard.
But yeah. Wow, what a absolute tailspin this show went into.
My bad.
Yeah, baby.
It's okay.
My bad.
Okay. That's the special sauce here. That's what people come for. At least I hope.
I'm gonna come. I'm gonna go make another drink. I'll be right back.
Okay, we'll pause so you can make a drink. All right, Bill has a new drink, and we are ready for our last topic of the show today, which is we finally got our first trailer for Maul Shadow Lord. Tila! I'm not playing it again.
No, please. I just wanted to say it.
Even though we've been bullshitting for like 15 minutes in between the break.
No,
Bill may need a new drink by now.
No, we have been bullshitting for an hour and 22 minutes. I don't know what you're talking about.
There's just 15 minutes of unaired bullshit.
Yeah, absolutely. There you go. There you go. Perfect.
Yep.
But we got our first teaser for Maul Shadow Lord. Something I'm very, very excited for. When this show was announced, I was super hyped up. I think that Maul is one of the characters who has had one of the biggest net positives of the modern Star Wars era, even going back to Disney buying Lucasfilm and everything. Like the glow up for Maul has been just persistent.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think it was high time he got a show. And I will say, before we jump into any of the Shadow Lord stuff, just to briefly acknowledge it, yes, Ray Park is a fucking lunatic. I hope he gets help.
Me too.
And, unless and until that happens and there are sincere apologies, and even then, I don't know. The dude needs to stop being booked at conventions. There's no two ways about it. I don't even think I'm going to tell the I swear I've not been drinking story again, because at this point, there's just too much ugliness with Ray that makes that story just not even funny anymore. But all of that said, how are we feeling about the Maul Shadow Lord trailer?
Here's how I know that this show is going to do well, and why I think Maul is a really interesting character to have his own show. I watched that trailer with somebody who is not super into Star Wars, and the first thing they said to me was after that trailer ended was, "That looks really fucking cool." So if the normies are this looks really fucking cool,
yeah.
Once again, my thing with Maul, I think is a cool character, and I like what they've done with him up to this point. He's not one of my favorites, but at the same time, Ahsoka wasn't one of my favorites until
Right.
deeper into the Clone Wars. Expanding their story and making it interesting, which I think this is going to do, especially when
Right.
you have the beautiful setting and the animation and everything. It looks awesome, and just the clear Japanese influences in it. Like there's a tea ceremony in it that Maul is doing.
Yeah.
The Japanese influences are so clear in Star Wars with Kurosawa that influenced George, and so it's wonderful to see those influences continuing. And so I think it's not going to be your traditional dark side cool lightsaber your Star Wars theory, your Windows or your Vader fan films. I think this is going to be it's going to take Maul into really interesting territory. And I think that there's a clear emphasis on the Sith code, my chains are broken, all that kind of stuff. So
chains can be broken, empires can be shattered.
Yeah,
invoking
so
the code.
I think they're gonna do more of I'm sorry, Jarod, a gray Sith, if that makes sense. Jarod the Gray Sith, where it's it's not quite to the dark side, it's not quite light side, it's a gray Sith.
That's a dark sider.
It's a gray Sith.
One of the ideas I think is really interesting about this already is that I think in many ways, one of the things that's defined Maul's character is his inability to let go, specifically let go of what was kind of promised as his great destiny.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And what I love about this, one of my favorite things about Maul is that even though he is cast out and he is cast aside by Darth Sidious, he still clings to what could have been. And that takes many forms. It's him going, it's him leaving the band to start his own with, the Shadow Collective and then Crimson Dawn. And then it also manifests in his hatred of Obi-Wan, because at the end of the day, he views Obi-Wan as the guy who took it all from me.
Mm-hmm. Also, how many people has Palpatine said, you are a rival? That's really interesting to me that
and I think that does something to his brain. I legitimately think that because on some level that is acknowledgement to, pardon me.
Absolutely.
I think on some level that's acknowledgement to him. Acknowledgement that he desperately craves. So I think taking Maul at this time period, the Empire has begun to, kind of plant its feet in the mud. We've heard Sam Witwer numerous times do the whole, Maul thought he was supposed to be a part of this, and he comes from this era of sword and sorcery, and now all the colors being sucked out, and he goes, oh, I don't know if this is what I wanted. Even though I'm not a part of this, even if I was, I don't know if this is what I would have wanted. And I think to take this character and put him so at odds with the person who did the casting out, because again, I think it's really compelling that Maul has never quite had the animosity for Palpatine that he has for Obi-Wan.
Mm-hmm.
That yes, trial by combat, bro, you lost fair and square.
But he's also not trying to build an empire to rival Obi-Wan. He's doing it to rival Palpatine. That's also really interesting.
He wants acknowledgement from the Emperor, but to kill Obi-Wan from taking his seat at the table away. And that has made him so compelling. And I think that in many ways we see Maul attempt this with Savage Opress. But I think what Maul wants so badly is to have somebody who serves him as fervently and fanatically as he was willing to serve the Emperor.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm so excited by, and we have a name for her now, the pink Twi'lek he's clearly trying to take under his wing,
Darth
Devon
Talon.
Azara. We'll talk about that in a minute. Devon Azara, trying to kind of take her under his wing. I see a lot of echoes in the way he tries to, beseech Ahsoka, in the way he tries to turn Ezra, in the way that he just had a rabidly loyal attack dog in Savage, that I think Maul so badly just wants to be the master.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Because the master role was taken away from him so grievously.
And also, it's interesting to me how many Jedi there are in this. There's her, and then there's another one who's
who seems like her master, who I don't think is
Yeah.
going to be in the show for very
no,
long.
not very, but like also voiced by the like Allstate guy, like in good hands, like Allstate. Like that's who that, which is gonna be like
God, Bill, there's going to be so many unfucking funny jokes.
Uh-huh.
That's not true. They're going to be funny for a day.
which
They're going
one?
to be funny for a day. Just taking clips of this Jedi and then being like, "Allstate, you're in good hands."
You're
Like,
in good
It's gonna.
they're all
turn
gonna
into
come
that-
from us. So like
It's gonna be
it's
no.
gonna be
It's not. It's not. It's gonna be the same way the Buffalo Wild Wings thing was funny for a fucking week, and then it got beaten into the ground like it owed the Kingpin money, and it just
when I was a boy.
Corridor. Buffalo Wild Wings.
Hodor.
Buffalo Wild Wings. I'm also Jabba the Hutt. Stop being funny.
I can't.
But
I've tried.
But all of that said, I am really interested in putting Maul in this position, especially while he is continuing to receive those acts of rejection from Sidious. You know, Sidious
Also-
is not showing up to say you're a rival anymore. He's sending he is telling Vader to send Vader's mangy attack dogs after him with
Well,
the
and also-
Inquisitors.
What's interesting to me is like seeing the beginnings of Crimson Dawn as well, because like you
we
got
got
a little bit,
sneak peek of it.
yeah, and like I mean you've got Drayden Voss, he's like in the Clone Wars in season 7, so like Paul Bettany could show up at any point, like so like this is him like building his empire. He's already got the like roots. They're just gonna start
Right.
taking shape and growing from here. So like
And he has his Mandalorians. We see Rook Cast in the
Mhm.
trailer. We see Vanessa Marshall's coming back as Rook Cast.
Mhm.
That's her name, right? I'm saying the right
Is-
person.
You
Yeah.
could be. I have no
Yeah,
idea.
no, that's it.
Names
That's
have
fine.
never been my thing. What legacy characters, like in terms of like prequels, like I've heard some people say that maybe like Vader could show up and like not like directly like battling him or like fighting him, but like
No, that's
is
100% what I want. That is 100% what I want.
do you think that they've like kind of painted themselves into the corner with like what they've done in Rebels, where like they were like Vader's almost here, like they like do you think
And Maul freaking out a little
yeah
bit.
well do you
I don't
think
know
do you
they
think that's like
necessarily-
do you think
I
it
don't
would
know-
make sense for them?
I don't think they painted themselves into a corner with that. I think that's something you can take or leave. I think that can either be even Darth Maul knows how much of a bad motherfucker Darth Vader is and knows to keep his head down, or you could go the route that I legitimately want them to, is that Vader and Maul have a showdown. I don't want it to be in season 1. I think that is a season 2, maybe even show-ending fight.
Mhm.
But
Kind of the
reason why-
opposite of the Obi-Wan fight that he has in Rebels, where it's like
right. I think that should be a slugfest, and it's one where Maul gets his teeth kicked in.
Mhm.
Especially because like Maul has been such a jobber for other characters. I think Maul has slightly started to fall into the General Grievous land of like, oh, we're gonna talk about him being a threat, and we're gonna show him killing some no names like it's nothing. But like when it comes to a character who matters, they're gonna find some reason to run away or best them or outflank them or whatever. And I'm afraid Maul has started to fall into that territory because Obi-Wan pieces him up a few times in the Clone Wars. You know, Ventress has his number. Sidious has his number. Ahsoka has his number. At this point, we've seen this legendary warrior lose more fights than he's won. So I think we have a great opportunity to put him in a situation where we see just how deadly he is when you throw some Inquisitors at him. Like the trailer, and I think it's clever editing, but the trailer very heavily implies, and I don't think it's a leap in logic to say, he's the reason Marok dies the first time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Like he's the reason why he needs to be brought back from the dead
Right,
and then sliced and turns into a
well,
fart cloud.
there could also be like, I mean, it's obviously Dathomir magic, so like,
yeah.
Maybe that's why he comes back. Maul brings him back to life. Like
It
as,
could
like,
be Maul,
one
it
of-
could be Morgan Elsbeth. I mean,
Yeah,
they could
good
go
point.
either way. Like
Good point.
I don't know when the last time Maul checked in on Dathomir was. then that could be something we explore. But the Vader of it all, what I think is so compelling is that I think Darth Maul knows. And I keep saying Darth Maul is a force of habit. The article on StarWars.com makes it clear that we are already in formerly Darth, now just Maul territory. That he does not give himself the Darth title anymore. But with Maul versus Vader, the reason I think it's important is A, Maul has to go toe-to-toe with, no holds barred, the Emperor's best student. The Emperor's most effective second in command.
What's the timeline? Like how far
This
after
is right after Revenge of the Sith. And that's why I don't want this in season 1.
Yeah.
That's why I don't want this in season 1. I want this to be like a season 2. If we get a season 3, sure. But for Maul, he has to, again, it's all the weird animus with Obi-Wan, but it doesn't ever really feel like he hates the Emperor. He wants Daddy's attention. He wants Daddy to love him again. But he doesn't hate the Emperor for what the Emperor did to him. He blames Obi-Wan for all the shit the Emperor did, but he never blames the Emperor. And I think that for Maul as a character, having the Emperor's latest attack dog, one who has done all the things Maul wanted to do, who is helping rule over the galaxy, who is leading this army of Jedi killers, who is doing everything that was truly promised to Maul, and there is not a half step or a half measure at all the way there was with Count Dooku.
Well, I think what could be really compelling, because like Star Wars, it's poetry, it rhymes. What you could have here is like kind of similar to season 1 of Rebels, where like you have this like very self-contained story where like, yeah, the Empire's the bad guys, but like at the end, like Vader shows up and is like, all right, I'm hunting these fucking rebels now. And so like at the end of it, of season 1 is, all right, Vader is hunting Maul. And like, you know, I think it would be really compelling if like Maul and Vader faced each other. Cause like, I think if Obi-Wan, the show showed us anything, that like, yeah, you can flip some things around and still tell a really compelling story and like tell them that like they've met before episode 4 that wasn't Revenge of the Sith, or that wasn't like that wasn't
totally.
what we think.
And but the other reason why I like it so much as an idea is all the stuff with Maul. Like I said, like it's putting Maul in a situation where I think he's going to be off balance because he has to confront the guy who has what Maul wanted. Like, because again, like you look at the Darth Maul Son of Dathomir comic, like Maul repeatedly calls Count Dooku a pretender. Like he calls him a Sith pretender. I think he even says it in the Clone Wars too, where like he does not view Dooku as a true Sith. He does not view Dooku as worthy of the mantle. I don't think Maul, with all of the ego and hubris and complex that he has, can with a straight face say that Darth Vader's unworthy.
Okay, here's something else I'm gonna put out there. Do not tell me I'm crazy. You know, they thought about bringing Starkiller in Rebels.
Don't talk dirty to me like this.
I'm just saying. There are Inquisitors in this. We know Sam Witwer's in this. They were talking about bringing Starkiller as an Inquisitor. I mean, like, what if like the way to like bring Starkiller is in the Maul show? Like,
I would love that.
Do you think how is this? Are we too inside baseball that we're like?
Yes, 100%.
Okay,
yes.
cool.
Would I love it? Would I mark out? Would people need to check on me? Absolutely. I'm never going to let my hopes get high for that. But what I was saying though is like on the flip side of this equation, I have all the resentment from Maul. With Vader, you have an amazing opportunity for characterization because so much of the push and pull with a story involving Darth Vader is trying to pinpoint where exactly you get to a point where Anakin Skywalker, and again, they are not separate people. I don't like getting into that discourse. Vader is Anakin. Anakin made those decisions. Vader internalizes it as them being different people so that he can cope. And where that difference comes into play are those moments where Anakin is clearly banging on the door to get out. The best parts of Anakin are like, this is wrong, this is bad, we are better than this. Please, please, God, let me do something about it. And the moments where even the worst parts of Anakin are coming out that don't reflect Vader, that don't reflect the cool, cold, like very surgical, clinical, like killer. You know, where there are moments of like where that Anakin passion comes into play. You know, like again, in Darth Vader's mind, because I don't separate them as characters, but Vader does. That like the fight at the end of the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, that's not Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader. That's Obi-Wan versus Anakin round 2.
Mm-hmm.
That's Anakin going, I want my lick back. That's nothing to do.
He had him in the
with
first
Darth
half.
Vader. Had him in the first half. That has nothing to do with Vader. That has nothing to do with the Empire. That is all Anakin. That is all Anakin's ego, his passion, his inability to let go. That is what that is. What's interesting about putting Vader in this situation is that he is early enough in his time that when he goes to face down with Maul, there's going to be a part of Anakin that Vader cannot suppress, which is when I look at Darth Maul, I see somebody who set off a chain reaction that led to my life being a fucking misery pit.
Ugh.
You killed Qui-Gon.
Yep.
You ruined my life because you killed Qui-Gon.
That's
Because
a good point.
maybe if he was still here, I wouldn't be like this.
That's a good point. That's a really great point.
And all of that anger and hatred and self-hatred and self-loathing, I think manifests in Vader as this is not Darth Vader versus Darth Maul. This is not a battle for Palpatine's acceptance and approval. This has nothing to do with my mission to take all the important Force users off the board. I am here to fuck you up because you helped ruin my life.
Even it's the like one of my favorite like things from the MCU. I love in Civil War where like Tony Stark doesn't like he can't be controlled, he can't be contained because like he didn't care when he saw the video of Bucky killing his parents. I don't care. He killed my mom. Like
and now I gotta light him up.
I don't
now
care.
I have to light him up.
I have to light him up. So like that could be like Darth Vader. You killed my dad. I gotta light you up, man. Like I gotta like. And
again, and it's such an interesting thing because Anakin now has the permission structure of the dark side.
Yep.
He has the permission structure to cut loose and want to murder Maul. But if Anakin, out of the suit, not charred, blue lightsaber, still a card-carrying member of the Jedi Knights, wanted to run this fade, there's a part of Anakin would lose control. Like if Anakin went to Mandalore, Anakin's crashing out. He wants Maul's head because right now it's all about Qui-Gon. There's no artifice. There's no face on this. I want to kill you because you killed Qui-Gon. Just to name one person you killed. I'm going to kill you for that, and I'm going to make you hurt for it. Now that he's a Sith Lord, now that he's Darth Vader, there's a permission structure for those feelings. But there is shame for the fact that he is fighting to avenge Qui-Gon. Darth Vader should not be fighting to avenge Qui-Gon. Anakin is. And that, I think that is, and again, you have this instance where Vader looks at Maul as you set off the chain reaction that ruined my life. If Qui-Gon lived, maybe I wouldn't have turned. Maybe I wouldn't have made those decisions. I wouldn't be where I am now. Padme's dead. I'm walking around in a permanent iron lung, and my life is nothing but misery. I have nothing I wanted. All I have is to be the Emperor's attack dog and a killer, and it started with you on Naboo, motherfucker. And for Darth Maul, he gets to go, why the hell did two whole goddamn Jedi get to have my job? And he resents Vader because he can't call Vader a pretender or a charlatan the way he did about Count Dooku. Because at the end of the day, one of those two guys wiped out the Jedi Order. And one of them was a political figurehead.
Also,
there's no contest.
Remind me, in Son of was it Son of Dathomir? Is that what Did
comic,
he
yeah.
did he fight Dooku in that?
Briefly,
Let me
How
look that up.
how long was it? Like was it like were
I
they
think it's
even?
a very brief exchange because a lot of it's them trying to release Mother Talzin, and then Mother
Okay.
Talzin takes control of Count Dooku to make him fight Grievous. It's also been so long since I've read that as well, so
Same,
I'm not going to have a good
same.
answer for you.
Me neither.
But no. So to answer the Vader question, I honestly I don't think it's this would be cool if it happened. I think if this show ends and Darth Maul and Darth Vader don't face off, they have yet again squandered an amazing opportunity. I thought it was a goddamn shame that Anakin and Darth Maul never got to go to blows. I thought it was absurd that those two never got to run the ones against each other.
Also, here's an interesting question. So like the protagonist and like antagonist of it all, like how are they going to do a show with that's like kind of like a gray Sith?
Well, I think
how are they gonna circle that square where it's like this guy is obviously a bad guy, but like how do we do this show where we like make him more compelling?
we want to root for him.
Are we gonna do Breaking Bad? Like, is this like?
I don't think you do Breaking Bad because Darth Maul broke bad when he was a kid.
Well, are we doing Better Call Saul? Are we doing El Camino? Are we what would Scotty say?
But that's funny. But no, I think the way you characterize Maul here is that like again, this isn't good versus evil. Darth Maul does not want to tear down and supplant the Empire because the Empire's wrong. He wants to do it because he's missing out. And he's full of spite and rejection. And I think that this young Jedi who's going to try to take under his wing is here to kind of be a foil for that. I do think she's going to fall to the dark side. I do think she's going to become a willing apprentice. To circle back briefly to the Darth Talon of it all, back when these teasers first leaked out of Celebration and we didn't get a good look at her, she looked redder, and that's why we all went to Talon. And yeah, to bring it all the way back to the conversation from earlier too, like when George Lucas was like, oh, I want Darth Talon and Darth Maul, even though it seems silly because it really, on paper, it's just, here's the Lady Sith who just kind of feels like Darth Maul in a different font, and she's like sexy, seems silly. On paper, or when you think about it deeper, it's brilliant. Because the only real defining trait of Darth Talon is her fanatical loyalty to Darth Krayt. And that in the One Sith Order in Star Wars Legacy, like the whole philosophy of the One Sith was there, like, we are all the Sith, but there is one Sith Lord, and that is Darth Krayt. And we answer to Darth Krayt. And there is a level of like fetal loyalty to him. One of the first times we meet Darth Talon is Krayt saying, blah, 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 very similar to the Vader in Force Unleashed, when I found you, you were weak, but now the dark side has given you strength. Rise, my apprentice. But Talon was not trained by Krayt. Krayt does that whole monologue and goes, and for your last task to prove that you can be my hand-picked assassin, kill your master. Cool. Cuts his fucking head off. Not a second's a question. Not a moment of hesitation. Not even oh man, but like this guy trained me. I've known him since I dead. Immediately. Like I said earlier, Darth Maul wants that. Darth Maul needs somebody who is as fanatically loyal as he was because he feels incomplete without it. He needs that approval. Like, Maul is one of the most compelling characters because this is a deeply fucking insecure guy. This is a deeply insecure character. And without that innate approval, without somebody either looking to him as their right hand or him having a right hand who will do anything for him, he feels incomplete. And that's where I think Devin comes into play. And I think she will follow him down that path. I think she will break bad. And that this will be a matter of, I'm building a criminal empire so that I either have my own thing underground, independent from the empire, or I want to try to supplant it. Now, by the time of Solo, we know Maul's fully underground. People don't even know he's running Crimson Dawn. Everybody thinks it's Dryden Voss. Dryden Voss is a fucking face guy. Crimson Dawn's able to operate basically unperturbed by the Empire. So is it a matter of Maul wants his own thing, so he's in his own corner, and he's going to have to fight the Empire to get off of this new world? Or, which Janix is the name of it. Or is he going to try to supplant it? And I think that there's going to come a point where Maul convinces Devin that the only way to survive is by fighting fire with fire. Because we also know that Devin is at a point of conflict within the teaser. You know, she's like, is this our fate now, constantly running? You know, she's a Jedi who is now locked in an era where the people she was ready to give her life to protect all want her dead. And I think that when you take that student, and I'm just going to throw a theory out now, I think Maul kills her master and blames it on an Inquisitor. I think Maul kills her master, Maul kills Marok and says, I avenged your master. And because y'all are stuck in the old ways, that's why he's dead. And that is enough. That is enough of a radicalizing force for this kid to go, you know what? You're right. We are going to fight fire with fire. And that's the only way it can be done. And I think eventually this leads to her doing away with Maul, casting him aside like he has always been. I legitimately want this show to end with Devin and Maul going head to head, Devin beating him, and basically going, you're not worth the time to kill. I'm going to leave you here on Malachor, this place that has so much trauma for you, because this place is an embodiment of the complex the Emperor gave you that you can't get over. You have been given every opportunity to get over this. You have been given every opportunity to grow past this, and you can't because you won't. I'm not going to bother killing you. I'm not going to get any more blood on my hands by killing this sad, pathetic creature. You're stuck on Malachor. Suck it by. That is where I think this ends.
By what?
Oh God, we're not doing that.
Sunday's Bloody Mary.
There we go.
But that's what I think the trajectory of this is. Truly.
That's really compelling. I really like that.
But that's where I think the Darth Talon thing comes into play. Will she be given the name Darth Talon? No, especially now that we know that Maul's already in that place of, I don't want to be called Darth anymore. I don't think he's going to give this girl a Darth name.
She could be
But
Talon.
I do think, she could take the name Talon. But what I think George's intent was, or at the very least what I think could have made that pairing compelling, is still going to be true. This is a man who neither needs to be the fanatical supporter or have a fanatical supporter, given a fanatical supporter who can out-fanatical supporter him. And then maybe break away from it by the end. But yeah, I've been yapping for a minute. I apologize. I want to read briefly from the article on StarWars.com from Kristen Baver. Pardon my hiccups.
Baver, I hardly know her.
Maybe I'll walk out of here tomorrow and you never see me again. That's really what I want to do.
You guys are the reason I smoke. With a velvety growl.
As I open this episode, you're the reason.
You're the reason.
You're the reason. You're the inspiration.
With a velvety growl, Maul himself invites you to look more closely at a galaxy reshaped by the Empire in Star Wars Maul Shadow Lord. Today, the first teaser trailer and poster for the animated series arrived, giving fans our first glimpse at the world of Janix and the machinations of the underworld playing out in an era near the beginning of Emperor Palpatine's reign. Beginning with a 2-episode premiere on Disney Plus April 6, 2026, and 2 episodes each week leading to a finale on Star Wars Day, May the 4th, Star Wars Maul Shadow Lord picks up after the events of the Clone Wars for a pulpy adventure that finds Maul plotting to rebuild the criminal syndicate on a planet untouched by the Galactic Empire. There, he crosses paths with a disillusioned young Padawan who may just be the apprentice he is seeking to aid him in his relentless pursuit for revenge. The voice cast is led by Sam Witwer, who lent his voice to Maul in the Clone Wars Rebels and Beyond as Maul, Gideon Adlon as Devin Izara, recent Golden Globe winner and Oscar nominee Wagner Mora as Bradner Lawson, and Richard Ionde as Two Boots, which is the droid detective, which I love the name Two Boots. The latter duo will also feature in a Marvel comic prequel series set on Janix beginning this March. I also love this part, and I'm going to read it and then expound on it. The series features stylized animation and emblematic of the gritty new cityscape locale of Janix, combined with old school filmmaking methods to capture painterly brush strokes on glass and other physical elements. What I love so much about how this show looks is that it feels, because like Clone Wars has always had like an almost like watercolor painted look to it.
Mm-hmm.
And what I love is that when we take Maul's perspective, it is all of the watercolor painted look to it with so much edge and ugliness. Like all the lightsabers look fiery and out of control. It's just visually so delightful. Cinematography, lighting, and VFX director Joel Aaron really took it up a notch with going back to the practical ways of capturing brushstrokes by painting them on glass, shooting them, then strategically placing them in shots, says Lucasfilm executive producer and vice president of Lucasfilm Animation, Athena Portillo. He even went back to establishing matte paintings on canvas. There's always different challenges with every show we do, but this one in particular raised the bar. We also wanted the animation body mechanics and facial to be more fluid from our previous work on animation director Keith Kellogg, who worked closely with CG and our internal animation team to upgrade the performances of our main characters. Janix is also described in this article as one part Gotham and one part Metropolis, which, fuck yeah, whatever the fuck that means, fuck yeah.
One part Metropolis, one part Gotham, 100% woke.
But yeah.
Oh my god.
And the article
Beautiful.
also makes it clear that he is Darth No More. Whether or not that's a journey he goes on in the show, I'd be interested in. Like, I'm curious to see if he does try to give Devin a Darth title and then he himself sheds it. And maybe even that's part of why she reneges, that she's like, "Oh, you're not about this shit the way I am, old man." But yeah, so very excited for Maul Shadowlord. The trailer is so thrilling. I'm excited to see a story about somebody who wants to fight the Empire for all the wrong reasons and will probably not succeed because it's all the wrong reasons.
Well, and here's the thing. When you fight a tyrannical regime, despite being the wrong reasons, are they really the wrong reasons? Like, you know?
Yeah. I mean, listen, when you're fighting the tyrannical regime because you want to be in it,
that's a good point. That's a really good point.
But yeah. Any other thoughts on the Maul Shadowlord teaser before we bring this puppy home?
Looks great. The animation again is just
breathtaking. Absolutely breathtaking. The fight choreography already looks remarkable.
Yeah, the fight choreography, and it's just wild to think about like where we started with season 1 of Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Up to now.
It's very much like
you can very easily chart the progression.
For me, like as a Legend of Zelda fan, like it's very much like Skyward Sword, the impressionist painting of like that the influence of Skyward Sword, like you feel it here too. So like it's wonderful. The choreography is really, really good too, because like that's like really like intricate moment where Maul throws the lightsaber like with the force throw and then like hits the stormtroopers and then like also like does it perfectly with where he hits Merrick. I've been replaying God of War Ragnarok.
I think that's clever trailer editing. I don't think he's actually cutting down Marok in that scene, but he's definitely going to kill him. Like like, there's no way he is not the reason Marok dies the first time.
Here, and Maul could be like very much like in this series could be like a little bit like Kratos.
where like he deals with. What are you laughing at, friend?
Group chat.
Okay, I'll take a look
Yeah,
here in a little bit.
same. Sorry.
Okay, well I'll deal with that here in a minute. But like, could be Maul dealing with things that he has not dealt with before. But it's really, I think it's gonna be really, really interesting. It's beautifully shot, it's beautifully animated. So I'm really, really looking forward to Maul Shadow Lord in April.
I am too, and stay tuned to the Nerd Academy podcast for coverage of Maul Shadow Lord here on the
Dude, it's
channel.
wild that it's coming out in April.
I mean, hey,
it's
if
wild
the
that
episode's
it's coming out in April, and then Mandalorian Grogu's coming out in May.
Yeah, well, here's what I'll say though.
Hey Siri, tell me the date in 6 to 7 weeks.
Kill yourself.
Oh wow. It actually does say that. It's No, I'm sorry. It's March 12th. So
we do not condone any type of suicide here.
Thank you. Thank you, Conor, for making that abundantly clear.
Who can relate? Woo! Anyway.
I say this as a Philadelphia sports fan.
But no, depending on if they drop this at like prime time, we might do call-in live shows, depending on when this comes out.
I'll be there.
Typically, I'm off Mondays and Tuesdays, so I could stand to be up a little later to do some live shows, but we shall see.
If it was Tuesdays, I'd be perfect, but it's on Monday, and I work on Tuesdays, and my weekends are Wednesdays.
Hey, just quit. Why don't you quit?
Just quit.
Just quit.
Just quit.
Just quit, pussy. But anyway, with all of that said, I think that brings us to the end of this gigantic episode of KNR.
Hell yeah.
Making up for some light uploads with a doozy for you guys today. So without any further ado, Bill, where can the lovely people find you, my friend?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Star Wars Bill, Instagram Star Wars Bill. If you like me and you think, oh God, that guy is executive producing the hell out of a podcast, you should definitely be watching Truth in the Barrel with my boss, Amy McGrath. It's a wonderful podcast, making sense of all the chaotic events that are happening, and doing it with a very, very good voice. And what I love about it, it's so calming, it's so wonderful. But she's a wonderful boss, and I appreciate everything that she does for me. So, Truth in the Barrel. We're having a good
go
time.
Check that out, and Kentuckians, go vote. Everybody vote, but
or at least comment and subscribe. You know,
at least comment and subscribe. Conor, where can the lovely people find you, my man?
Twitter and Blue Sky, both Dapper Banana. Instagram, Conman JFO. Discord, that's Patreon paywall. Subscribe to the Patreon to get my Discord. That's where I'm like on most of the time. For the Republic, I almost said Nerd Academy podcast. So the show I'm on right now.
That's
us. The other show I'm on that's also talks about Star Wars is called For the Republic podcast. You can find us at For the Repub Pod on most socials there, and then just YouTube. That's where you can find our show. And then I co-host and co-write questions for a fan Star Wars trivia league called Star Wars in a Galaxy Epic Confrontations. You can find all of our past, present, and future matches over at the Star Wars in a Galaxy YouTube channel.
Yes, indeed. Speaking of, we're recording this Sunday a match where I am debuting with my new team, the Jedi Princes, myself and Michael McCoy from All Remaining Systems. More on him later. Against Bori Paraxium, Goose from Triad of the Force, and Sean Room of Bogus Cantina and former DragonCon Trivia champion. Michael and I are looking forward to what will be a bloodbath for the Bori Paraxium. Excited to put on a good show, though. Myself, you guys can find
Jarod.
me. Oh, yes, of course.
Where?
Thank you. You guys can find me
Donde?
on Instagram and Blue Sky at Dark.
Donde está la biblioteca?
You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, wherever you get your podcasts, our YouTube channel, and on the nerdacademypodcast.com, where, if you're feeling generous, you can donate to our Patreon.
Hey, give me $1.
Speaking of our patrons, thank you to our $10 alumnus, aka Taylor's best friends, Ray Clausen and Paco. There's shout out number 2, guys.
Miss Taylor?
Miss Taylor.
Miss Taylor?
As I said earlier, $5 patrons and up get early access to Road to Doomsday, our MCU rewatch show we're doing in anticipation of Avengers Doomsday. Every episode of Road to Doomsday is available early on Patreon, as well as exclusive access to our audio commentary series. So be sure to tune in every Marvel Monday here on the Nerd Academy podcast for every new upload of the Road to Doomsday, except no substitute. But with that, also Luminous Odyssey, the Star Wars RPG show we're doing on all remaining systems, takes place in the High Republic era. It is me, it is Miss Taylor, it is Alden, it is Joe Organa. We are all Jedi. We are trying to save the galaxy. And when the new episode that we just recorded comes out, shit's getting real. So tune in over on all remaining systems, as well as on the Mitch692 channel, where we are watching Attack on Titan. And I'm having a good time crashing out over how insane this goddamn show is. But with all of that said, thank you so very much for tuning in. We are honored that you have joined us, and may the Force be with you always.
Stop.
Be bold.
Move away from the cookie jar.
Be bold, Bob. You gotta be bold. Quit it. Quit it. Be bold.